get this started, shall we? Been a while, but welcome back to when a certain destruction came into my life. None other than my adoptive little sister down in the Philippines, the lonely Nixie. Prologue has been done a while back. Playlist can definitely be found on my channel and whatnot. Link as well. Read it for your own lonesomes if you so desire. Whatnot. Alright. Loud. Music wise. Okay. Alright, then. Summary, genre. Alternate universe, dark fantasy, psychological horror, supernatural romance, drama, action. I am the one you summoned. Behind him, falling stars continue to lit up the night sky. My name is Vegeta Yonsei, the god of destruction of this universe. And I am here to fulfill your wish to destroy this world, Bulma. There's an urban legend going around about a ritual where you can summon the god of destruction during the hour of total darkness, or the witching hour, and make a wish for him to destroy anyone or anything you hate, but with a hefty price, your soul. This is the story of how the proud Saiyan prince who became the most fearsome god of destruction of his universe was accidentally summoned into the earth by a human girl who wished for the world to be destroyed, and eventually fell in love with her, as she helped him learn and discover new things about himself, reasons to accept his cursed existence, and the mysteries of love, thus giving him a new sense of purpose. Includes the backstory, which I have mentioned that we have covered, the legend of the god of destruction. Alright, why is this not going? Click on. I'm gonna turn this down a bit more. Okay, yep. So now I go here, the website, and I can scroll down, obviously. I was on the bloody projector screen. Alright, notes inspired by The Final Price by Scarlet Raven 1001. Inspired by Doom at Your Service, Korean drama by I Me Ari. Inspired by Jigoku Shouju, Girl from Hell, Hell Girl by Hell Girl Project and Hiroshi Watanabe. Inspired by The Chosen One by The Lonely Nixie. Inspired by Haru Hasidon, The Tale of the Saiyan Who Became the God of Destruction by The Lonely Nixie. I believe I covered a bit last week. Alright. Prologue. The Creator and the Destroyer. That's cover, look at that. Cosmos. Before creation comes destruction. This is how the balance of the existence of the universe works. There exist two powerful deities, a creator god and a destroyer god. A creator god is responsible for the creation of everything from stars to planets and all that surrounds them. The deity known as the Kaioshin gives life to the creatures that exist in the universe. He is also responsible for the rebirth cycle, given that he works alongside his destroyer counterpart. This creator god is also known as the supreme guardian deity, because he also looks over the mortals and watches out at how they live. He watches over them in his sacred planet up above the mortal realm. Below him are his four assistants, the Kais, who also watch over the four quadrants of the universe with him. On the other hand, the destroyer god is the opposite of the creation god. The Hakaishin is the one obligated to cause death and destruction to all that was created by the Kaioshin. He is also responsible for the judgment, punishment, and misery of mortals. He had no assistants to help him with his job because he is more than powerful enough to get the job done by himself. But he does take apprentices if he feels like it, someone who would take over his place once his time's over. The Kaioshin does this too, but unlike a Kaioshin who was already born with godly abilities and immortality, a Kaioshin was once a mortal being chosen to take the mantle to become a god of destruction. Once he was trained to do so, and he gained the powers of the destroyer god after taking over his predecessor's position, only then he could enjoy the eternal life given by his divine destructive powers. He would reside on a lonely and isolated planet, hidden within the clouds filled with darkness. The Kaioshin and Hakaishin's lives are forever bonded together. If one's existence is destroyed, the other would cease to exist as well. Even though they are connected to one another, they live apart like they are completely different entities. Many other things make them different from the other, making them complete opposites of one another. For example, the Kaioshin and his assistants are the kindest, most humble, and loving deities any mortal would pray into. Meanwhile, a Kaioshin is the most dangerous, violent, and fearsome deity due to his destructive power. The Kaioshin and his assistants are peaceful and laid-back deities who enjoyed the concept of emotions such as love, happiness, concern, sadness, grief, and sincerity. While the Hakaishin isn't allowed to feel these emotions, well, save from their anger with the Kaioshin and his assistants are forbidden to feel. While the Kaioshin is surrounded by his comrades who he considers his friends, the Hakaishin is left alone with his guide angel, who also serves as his attendant. This was why whoever was chosen to become a Hakaishin should have the physical, emotional, and mental strength to withstand such a lonely life. Aside from seeing and causing death and destruction to the universe, one must give up his heart and his life in order to fulfill his duty well. The role of the guide angel is to supervise the works of the destroyer god and check up on his well-being so he won't feel that lonely. But then there was never a problem with all those who have taken up the mantle until. Nope, 10 more. Let's go with that. Okay, should be fine now anyway. I am the one you summoned. Big blue eyes stared wildly at the menacing figure of a man standing right before him. A petite-sized man with black hair that stood up in a flaming array, and eyes as dark as a starless and moonless night stared right through her, piercing her pounding heart with dread and fear at the mere sight of his presence. Behind that menacing figure, falling stars continued to light up the night sky. My name is Vegeta Yonsei, the god of destruction you called for, and I am here to grant your wish to destroy this world, Bulma briefs. Yonsei stands for 4, by the way, so Vegeta 4th. A human girl who wished for the world to be destroyed accidentally summoned the most fearsome deity into the earth. Deity, yes, not deity. This is the story of how a certain destruction came into their lives and changed the fate of not just their entire universe, but of the multiverse as well. Notes, list of arcs. What's to come? Chapter 1, Chance Meeting Arc. Chapter 2, The Legend of the God of Destruction. 3, Granola the Survivor Arc. 4, Vegeta's Acceptance Arc. 5, Vegeta's Awakening. 6, Hour of the Bull Demon Lord. Oh, that sounds fascinating. 7, Serpent Demon Lord of Chaos Resurrection. And finalmente, finally 8, Day of the Apocalypse. Alright, so next chapter, ahoy. We'll go about approx an hour, give or take, we'll see. Anyway, see the end of it. Hey, did you know that there's a scary urban legend going around about a ritual where you can summon the god of destruction and ask him to destroy anyone or anything you hate the most? You mean that one from Chile, Pastor? I think I heard about it. The god of destruction is the most powerful deity among all, right? The deity who brings death and destruction to all that exists. Yes, and they say that you can only do the ritual during the hour of total darkness. And if you successfully completed the summon, he shall appear before you and offer you to enter a contract with him. He will take revenge on your behalf by destroying the one you wish to be eliminated from your life. Although there's a hefty price you must pay. I think he will take your soul as payment for his services. So why are you telling this to us? Well, that's because I'm feeling that some fool will do that stupid ritual soon. Really? Who? Is he crazy? The god of destruction appears on our planet, we're all doomed. There's a saying that in any unfortunate worlds he visited, death and destruction will follow. Ah, why are you being like that? It's just a mere urban legend. The god of destruction doesn't exist at all. I just think it's crazy how some gullible people believe a story such as that. Yeah, I guess you're right. But we both know that Atla has a reason to do so. I feel so bad about what happened between him and Princess Lamura. Not far away from these talking humanoid insect-like aliens, huddled in the corner of a small, cold prison cell, a lone, depressed man of the same kind curled himself in the corner. In his right claws, he held a long, sharp-edged rock, dripping with his viscous, greenish alien blood. In his mind, dark thoughts about the destruction of someone too powerful for him to fight filled his hateful heart. For the sake of my beloved Lamora, I will destroy that darn King Moe, even if I have to pay for it with my soul. Chapter 1, Destruction. The world where the god of destruction resided was always filled with darkness. The menacing sky was enveloped with dark, rolling thunderclouds that would occasionally flash blue or yellow-colored lightning. The only sound that could be heard was the low rumbling of thunder that would come after the flashes of lightning the clouds would give off. The silent darkness and the chilling gust of wind on this eerie place was a constant manifestation of his cold and lonely life, ever since he was taken away from his father and his home world, while the lifelessness of the things around him would forever remind him of the divine powers of death and destruction he would eternally possess. Vegeta stared down in silence as he sat cross-legged over the field, surrounded by the dead, grey-colored grass, on top of a high cliff overlooking the vast, barren wasteland ahead. His dark, narrowed, slanted, raven-colored eyes were blank and empty, as if he was devoured of any soul or emotion. He would occasionally tap on the ground with his fingers, reducing the grass into complete nothingness with his touch alone. He tapped some more, watching intently at the grass as it slowly turned into dust that whirled along with the wind and started to disappear. He was growing bored. He had been waiting for his next client to call on him. Anyone who'd wish or pray for death or destruction to come or even any requests coming from Shin, the god of destruction, and his assistants about races or worlds they deemed worthy to be destroyed by him due to their unforgivable sins.
Remain determined to this. Vegeta stared down in silence as he sat thus.
Yeah, that's better. He was also waiting for his guide angel to return from his whereabouts, and he was growing impatient by now. Just what is taking Whis so long? Vegeta tapped on the ground again with his finger. His growing impatience causing more of the surrounding grass to wither and turn into dust. The wind began to blow a little stronger now, and the lightning strikes came randomly. Below him, the ground seemed to rumble. These were the automatic reactions of nature to his presence. His emptiness, impatience, and his anger. Yes, those were the only emotions he was ever allowed to feel. Vegeta was always a cold-hearted, impatient, and hot-headed being by nature. He used to be a Saiyan warrior after all, and just like any other Saiyan warrior, he was also ruthless and sadistic. In fact, he was considered the most wicked of them all. He was much crueler and bloodthirstier than any of his kind, which was why he was greatly feared by many. Tales about his merciless reputation would caution others to avoid any conflict with him, or to never incur his wrath, or it would end terrible for them. He was the most powerful and most formidable warrior in this entire universe. He could rule everything and have anything he ever wanted. But then, after that horrific incident, Vegeta's life went empty. He missed the feeling of overwhelming joy and the thrill of battle whenever he fought in a deadly battle back when he was still a mortal. Now he could no longer feel those emotions anymore. For all eternity, he was the god of destruction now, after all. With just a single thought of his entire planets or galaxies could disappear. When he walks around, the plants and trees wither. When he lets out a smirk, a mortal's life or existence is taken by his hand. Whenever he speaks of destruction, devastating events shall occur. His presence alone would bring death and ruin to any unfortunate world forced to welcome his divine descent. He was always meant to kill and destroy. The judge, the punisher, the bringer of death, the destroyer of worlds. Those were his duties as the Hakaishin, the god of destruction of this universe. So menacing. It's not like Vegeta wanted to become one, though the idea was something he welcomed back when he was still a mortal. He was chosen by his predecessor, the former god of destruction named Beerus, and was forced to succeed him after he willingly entered into a contract with him in exchange for the wish he made for himself back when he was a mortal child. Beerus saw the potential of Hakaishin within him. That's why he trained Vegeta personally to possess the godly power of death and destruction. While Vegeta initially chose this path himself due to his obsession with seeking the greatest strength and power, it was something he would later regret. What he first thought was a life of superiority over those foolish and weak mortals turned out to be a curse for him after all. Vegeta always wanted to become the strongest warrior in the entire universe, and now that he had indeed become the most powerful and most feared being in this universe, without any mighty opponent or a worthy challenge to make his blood boil with the thrill of battle or a reason for him to fight, he eventually grew bored of it. Being the strongest was definitely boring. Saiyans lived and thrived for battle. Fighting was what they loved doing, and for Vegeta, their prince, seeking greater power and breaking through his limits were what used to make him feel elated with joy. But with overwhelming destructive powers just like what he possessed now, it made his life feel lonelier. He was careful not to show much emotion so that he doesn't breach the contract he had made. Even though Beerus doesn't exist anymore, the cursed contract was still going on. and it placed an eternal curse on the souls of his father, mother, younger brother, and all of his people, the mighty Saiyan warrior race, whom he fought and sacrificed his entire mortal life to protect and avenge. If Vegeta turns away from the contract, the entire Saiyan race, including himself, will be completely erased from their existence and will be forgotten forever, as they never existed in this world at all. Just as what he was doing with the grass, he was silently watching it as it got broken down to dust before it disappeared completely without a trace. If he refused to do his duties as the God of Destruction properly, he shall be tortured mentally by the endless cries of agony coming from the souls of his people trapped and wandering in pain and suffering at a place called Mu, a void between heaven and hell, until he gives in and forces himself to do what he must. He once tried to defy the contract and he never wanted to do it again. It only resulted in a traumatic experience for him, and him losing his mind and his control of his powers, forcing him to destroy an entire galaxy in his rampage. It was then he realized that his existence was an inescapable curse he must endure for all eternity, an existence even worse than suffering in the pits of hell. This was the reason why Vegeta tried his best to close off his heart, to never feel any other emotions any longer. Well, aside from those he's allowed to have, of course. He stopped trying to break free from the contract as well, unless he finds anyone more worthy than he is to become the God of Destruction. Vegeta is trapped in this cursed existence of his that he had given himself into. And as the crown prince of all Saiyans, he didn't want the name of his proud and mighty race to be forgotten forever, or worse, to have never existed in this universe at all. He did his best to endure this rotten, immortal life and be the only remaining living proof that the Saiyans once existed in this cosmos. Vegeta gazed in silence as the last of the grass in this field dissolved to thin air, ceasing from existence completely. "Ah, there you are. I've been looking for you," a soft, soothing voice said behind him. "Finally," Vegeta thought to himself as he rose from sitting on the ground and faced his guide angel and attendant Whis. "Did you get something for me?" Vegeta asked in a flat, emotionless tone. "Of course, my lord," Whis said as he offered him a bento box made from bamboo that he got from an intergalactic marketplace he just visited to get some food supplies from. Vegeta took a square-shaped golden earring from his pocket and sticked it over his left ear. It served as a limiter to his destructive power, which allowed him to properly control and conceal it within him. Once he was done putting on the earring, he took the box from Whis and sat back down on the ground with a huff. He took the lid off and gazed at the food within it. He frowned in disappointment when he found out that the soy sauce had splattered all over the supposedly nicely decorated Maguru nigiri. He turned his displeased glare towards Whis, a look of suspicion on his face. Whis shrugged his shoulders off and smiled sheepishly. "Oh my goodness, it must have become like that during the travel. I'm so sorry, Vegeta-sama." Vegeta opened his mouth to berate his attendant for being so careless when no sound came from him. Vegeta suddenly concentrated his senses as if he was hearing something Whis could not. Though Whis already knew what that meant for him, and so did his job. He summoned his long scepter out of thin air and looked over at the flashing crystal floating on its tip. Vegeta listened to the voice for a while. It was a request, a desperate prayer to him. It was filled with grief and injustice. The person was calling out for him to help. For help. "You will get what's coming for you, I swear. You may have won now, but I know that the God of Destruction will bestow upon you the divine punishment you so much deserve," the voice was saying. "Please, Hakai Shinsama, please hear my prayer. Destroy that damn bastard, Moi, for me, so he could get my beloved wife back. In the mortal world, there were several ways to send your prayers to a deity. While most do the typical kneeling and bowing while praying in either silence or loudly praising or singing to a deity to show their worship to them, others would make a sacrifice or do some rituals. For a god of destruction, it requires a blood sacrifice. It doesn't mean that they would have to kill anyone to call out to him though. Those who wish to summon him would need to do this on the hour of total darkness. And with just a drop of his blood, one must say his prayers for anyone's death or a planet's destruction. When it is done, their prayers will be heard. Once the god of destruction hears one's prayer, he would appear before the client for interrogation. Once he deems the problem worthy of his attention and services, he would offer a contract to the client, in which once he finishes his request, there will be a hefty price for the client to pay. Mortals sure have become too desperate these days that they would go to drastic measures just to curse those they hated and even themselves, due to matters he considers as trivial. Vegeta shook his head. No matter, at least this request might help fend off his boredom. Moe, Vegeta repeated the strange name. He turned to his guide angel and ordered him in a cold yet commanding voice. Whis, report. Whis tapped the end of the scepter into the ground to show him a holographic projection of Vegeta's summoner and what he had been. The request came from the northern galaxy, a planet called Alia. The client, a 32-year-old alien named Atla, his wife Princess Lemuria, was taken away by Moe, an usurper who killed off Lemuria and Atla's families so he could take over the throne for himself. After declaring himself king, he forced the princess to become his concubine against her own wishes. Atla was thrown away into prison due to die of hunger. Vegeta watched through the projection Whis was showing him. An alien humanoid insect was mercilessly dragged away by another of his kind. The client, Atla, wore a thick golden bracelet on his right arm. The other one, a soldier of the royal army, hurled Atla into a prison cell, where several others were also imprisoned. The client looked no different than those other aliens except for the bracelet he wore. Vegeta decided to respond to the request upon seeing what happened to Atla and the way he said his prayers to him. At last, something to fend off his boredom. Let's go, Whis, Vegeta said, going around his guide angel and grabbing his shoulder with his right hand. I understand, Whis responded as he prepared to launch himself off their home planet along with his lord. Using his hyperspace flight ability, Whis took Vegeta to planet Alia. It was a reddish-brown planet with 2 orbiting moons. Planet Alia, huh? This planet looks like a good-for-nothing piece of trash, Vegeta commented. He stared down on the planet with a disgusted look, as if he was looking at poop. And it smells like one too, he complained. Are you sure this is the correct planet, Whis? Indeed, my lord, Whis beside him responded. He was already covering his nose with a white handkerchief. Vegeta wanted to protest about how unfair that was for him, but he decided to hold back his tongue and simply focus on his duty. Just the mere sight of it makes me want to destroy this planet immediately, Vegeta growled. So, are you going to destroy it? Whis asked with a nonchalant expression. Just good. I'm not that far into it, so, enjoy. No, not yet. I have to make my judgment first before I bestow my divine punishment upon them, Vegeta replied. So, what are you going to do? I'll descend there and have my word with Atla. Wait here as usual. Whis nodded. I understand, my lord. Perhaps the urban legend about the god of destruction wasn't true after all. There was an urban legend going around, and it's a big talk among the aliens that if you offer your blood and prayed for the god of destruction to help you out in your misery, He will hear your prayers and come to rescue you from evildoers. You have to make your prayers at the hour of total darkness. Atla did just that to stop Moray's rampage across the planet Alia and save his beloved Lemuria from his cruel hands.
That's good. I'm not that far into it, so,
Music level's fine, I believe. Alright, where are we now? He waited for several minutes, yet nobody came to his rescue. The dead silence of the prison made Atlas sleepy and bored, so he eventually decided that he was just being crazy. Feeling disappointed, he went to his side of the prison to sleep on the floor. He closed his eyes for a moment, and then he suddenly felt a foreboding presence above him. Atla opened his big, bulging white eyes to see the shadow of a man with dark, flame-shaped hair staring down at him. Gasping out in terror, Atla sprung off the floor and staggered backwards to inch away from the fearsome being until his back hit the cold metal prison rail. Who are you? Atla demanded breathlessly, a look of pure, utter horror on his face. I am the one you summoned, the man said in a flat, cold tone. Due to the darkness of the prison, Atla couldn't make out his features. Based on the shadow, the man was petite in size, but the air and pressure he emitted were both menacing and intimidating. His presence felt cold and terrifying, feeling like he was staring at death and destruction itself, and his eyes, those slanted, narrowed eyes, were darker than the starless night sky and colder than ice as it peered back at his soul with such an intense, spine-chilling gaze. It made Atlas shriek, feeling a sudden strange pulse within the center of his chest as his core of existence. His soul recognized the presence of the deity responsible for death and destruction, standing before him. You are the god of destruction? Atla gasped. Indeed, the man responded with the same emotionless tone. Atlas sighed in relief after knowing that his effort of doing that ritual wasn't useless after all. I am Vegeta Yonsai, the god of destruction responsible for the death and destruction of everything that exists in the universe. I heard your call for me, and I am here to fulfill your wish to destroy Moray for you. Yes, please do so, Atla begged as he fell to his knees, as if to worship the godly presence before him. I beg of you, he made Alia suffer under his rule. He had stolen my rightful place and my wife on our wedding day. He murdered the king and the queen. He abducted, killed, or tortured anyone who would dare to go against his tyranny while he lived his life of a spoiled, lavish lifestyle. Please bring an end to his reign of terror and free Alia from our vicious king. Free my Lemuria and bring my beloved wife back to me. Vegeta simply stared at the alien, not really caring about whatever drama he was trying to tell him, since he already knew the whole story. Of course I will do as you wish, but for a condition. Atla quickly raised his head. Condition? What is it? He asked. When you enter a contract with me, I shall bestow my divine punishment on the one you wish for me to destroy. In this process, the one you wish for destruction will cease to exist in this world. That means they will disappear forever, body and soul. They will never pass over, be sent to the afterlife, or be given the chance to go to heaven, hell, or even be revived or be reincarnated. They will also be forgotten by mortals, as if they have never existed in this world. Before creation comes destruction. This is how the balance of the universe works. But if one's existence is destroyed when it's not yet its due time because of a request made to the god of destruction, this creates a discrepancy in that balance. In order to keep the normality, the cause must suffer the same fate as the other. It basically means that once it is time for you to die, I will destroy your soul, just as I did to the one you wished for me to destroy. Are you serious? Gasped Atla. Of course, Vegeta replied, turning his back on the alien. You can decide whether you go through this or not. Once you have made your decision, focus your mind on the destruction of Moray and call me by my name. I see. Vegeta was about to leave when he suddenly felt a connection between him and Atla. He turned his head over his shoulder to gaze down at the desperate alien before him. Please, Vegeta Yonsei-sama, for the sake of my Lemuria, destroy Moe for me, Atla begged. At first, Vegeta was confused. This was the first time a client of his made such a decision that fast. Most of them would try to think it over for days or even weeks. Some would turn down the offer after realizing the price they had to pay. But this fool over here looked like he didn't even think about his decision at all. Or did he not understand the consequences he would face sometime later? Oh well, it doesn't matter to him anyway. Vegeta hated repeating himself, plus the connection was already made and the deal was on. Vegeta's initial emotionless expression dramatically changed into a cruel, sadistic one, as he finally let out a creepy, crazed-looking smile that meant total destruction. You sure make such a quick decision, alien, he said. Very well then, I shall destroy Moe for you. And with a single tap of his finger, Vegeta reduced the metal rails of the prison to dust, until it was nothing, much to Atla's amazement. Wait here, Vegeta told Atla before he walked out the prison and towards the king's throne room. Moe sat back on his throne, whining about how boring his life was. Beside him, Lemuria stared down at the golden bracelet around her right forearm with a look of longing. My dear Lemuria, are you still thinking about that foolish man Atla? Asked Moe. Maybe I should throw him into Yeti's pit so he could be eaten right alive right before your eyes. Lemuria stayed silent despite the evil laughter she was receiving from their ruthless king. A royal soldier came up to the king and told him important news. What? An alien? Asked Moe. Yes, your majesty. We saw it and I caught him walking around in the lowlands. He was acting suspiciously as if he was trying to look for something, so we decided to arrest him. He willingly joined us though. We have thrown him into prison, said the royal soldier. What a fool. Perhaps he's an invader who was sent in here to investigate if they could conquer us or not. I want to see that alien. If he turns out to be interesting, I will keep him as a pet. Bring him to me, Moe ordered. The soldier bowed down in obedience. Yes, your majesty. The soldier was about to do the king's command, but was abruptly frozen in place when he found the said alien slowly walking right towards them. What? What is the meaning of this? How did you get out of prison? Gasped the soldier in confusion. Is that him? Asked Moe, staring down at the odd-looking short man coming right towards him. Yes, your majesty, the soldier responded. Moe laughed. My goodness, he's indeed one ugly-looking creature. I don't want a pet as horrible-looking as that. Vegeta halted his footsteps once he was 3 feet in front of the stairs that led to Moe's throne. He raised his cold, dark eyes to stare at Moe, like a child planning to crush an ant with his fingers. Well, it seems correct that way, since these aliens are insects after all. Insects that he would indeed destroy. Moe observed the suspicious alien, a short man with a lean but muscular build. He doesn't look that threatening if you look at him, but the king could feel something within that man, a fighting spirit of a proud warrior, and something else, something frightening, something destructive. If this alien is indeed a warrior, then he must have been a feared one. Moe could tell that he must have fought numerous battles in his lifetime, despite his seemingly young age, and those battles he won by toppling countless deaths and causing destruction to the unfortunate worlds he had landed himself into. For a moment, Moe wondered if Planet Alia would be included in the list of those worlds, but he shook that thought away, determined that this man would meet his end here and by the hands of his powerful elite warriors. You look like you could fight. Why don't you make a wager with me? How about you fight against my most elite soldiers? If you win, I will give you whatever you want, Moe offered. He was just growing bored and wanted to see some bloodshed in his arena. And watching this alien die could be interesting. Fine with me, Vegeta agreed with a bored tone. He could easily tell what Moe was thinking. He decided to play along, walk right into his trap, and give him an interesting last show before he bestowed destruction upon the pretentious king. Very well, Moe said. He raised his voice to give his royal command to his soldiers. Come, my soldiers. Kill this intruder for me. Let me see what kind of blood an alien like him could spill. Kill him for me and offer me his head and his heart. Do it! With a united battle cry, several alien rose soldiers, the most elite of them, surrounded Vegeta. They held weapons from spears to swords. As the soldiers charged at him, Vegeta was calm from where he stood. In his opinion, after observing the stances and the fighting spirits of these fools, they are no warriors at all, just idiots pretending to be warriors, just like their pretentious king. Vegeta felt annoyed at the fact that they tried to put shame on the great image of what warriors were truly like. They would never hold a candle to compare to the lowest level of his once proud and mighty Saiyan race. But Vegeta pushed that irritability aside. He must not allow it to reign his heart. He must focus on his duty as the god of destruction and think of only one thing in his mind, and that's to cause unstoppable destruction on this miserable planet. Vegeta simply raised his left hand towards his left ear and flicked a finger at his golden earring. The sound of a bell was heard when he did that, and then the wind suddenly blew strong around him, like a powerful shockwave that resonated from his body. The wind blew the soldiers away from him, slowly breaking their bodies down into black dust until they disappeared completely. What the? Moe gasped in horror at what he just witnessed. These soldiers just turned into dust? Vegeta raised his head to look back at the distraught king with a menacing smile. You said you'd give me anything I want if I win. Now I want to take my prize. It's not over yet, you monster, Moe hissed, denying that he just lost to a barbarian. Someone! Release Yeti! Release Yeti! He suddenly screamed. Vegeta didn't care at all, even as the ground started to shake and a giant alien monster rose from the ground behind him. He simply uttered the following words to Moe. You have incurred the wrath of the god Destruction, and now you shall receive divine punishment for your unforgivable sins. You have been judged, and therefore your existence shall be destroyed. Moe gasped, hearing the man's words. The god of destruction. Was he the one who you could summon by doing that creepy ritual from the urban legend he had been hearing from his guards? A deranged, creepy smile stretched across the god of destruction's wicked face, as if to silently tell Moe that yes, indeed, he is that god of destruction, the one who would put an end to his existence and bestow upon him the divine punishment of destruction. He so much deserved for all of the evil things he had done. The monstrous Yeti roared behind Vegeta and it furiously attacked him from behind with its deadly claws. A dark purple aura abruptly enveloped Vegeta's body, and as soon as Yeti made contact with that godly destructive energy, it quickly dissolved into nothingness. Realizing that he lost the wager he made and that he just messed with the most fearsome deity in the entire universe, Moe quickly hid behind his throne, as if that thing would save him from the wrath of the god of destruction. Please spare me! Spare me! I will give you any prize you want! Hakai Shin-sama, just please leave me alone! Moe begged for mercy, but Vegeta won't listen to his pleas. He was here to do and finish his duty, no matter what. As the prize for winning the wager you made with me, I want to take your entire existence and your planet. Vegeta voiced out his demands for his prize. No! No! Moe shook his head, whining. He was trembling and whimpering in utmost dread, and Vegeta released his pure terror the once terrifying self-proclaimed king of the aliens was showing him. Yes, this was the perfect time he had been waiting for, the moment that showed Moe's greatest vulnerability. The instant the pretentious fool finally realized how hopeless he actually was against such a powerful divine being whose name and title inspired fear in the hearts of many. And with that, Moe had given up and lost his will to fight. He was too scared of what the god of destruction would do to his entire existence now. Don't be afraid of me, Vegeta told Moe. Your fear won't keep you or this planet around any longer. Your fate has already been sealed the very moment I set my eyes on this planet. It's over. Vegeta held his right hand forward, his fingers spread out with his open palm, facing towards the quivering Moe. Before creation comes destruction. To keep the balance of this universe, one must be destroyed for the creation of another to happen. Now, receive the consequences of your wrongdoings. Vegeta's dark, ebony irises glowed a bright pinkish red as he peered into Moe's very soul. The alien king felt something within his chest jolt. His body was quickly enveloped by a purple light, freezing him in his place while he continued his fearful gaze at his destroyer. Destruction! Vegeta declared with a commanding tone. He squeezed the air with a raised hand facing Moe, closing his hand into a tight fist. Moe let out a horrified scream as he felt an agonizing pain rack throughout his body, while he got slowly reduced until there was nothing left of him but fine black dust of new energy to be used for the creation of a new being in the universe. It was over. Atla and Lemuria united without any memory of their cruel experience with King Moe or any of those the God of Destruction just destroyed. Vegeta was quick with Whis up above the planet's atmosphere. Both of them stared down at the unfortunate planet that was about to meet its doom by the hands of the destroyer deity himself. So, you have decided to destroy this planet after all, Whis said. It is a good-for-nothing planet. This universe doesn't need a world with a serious bug problem. Vegeta huffed. You just hate bugs, don't you? Maybe I do. Vegeta put his palm up. Tendrils of his destructive ki coalesced into a tiny, highly concentrated sphere of dark purple energy. He dropped the ki orb into the planet and watched as it descended into the world and penetrated through the ground until it reached the core. As Atla and Lemuria embraced each other, happy that they were finally united and will be together forever, the planet exploded. The beautiful sight of a planet's destruction cured my boredom. I feel a lot better now, Vegeta said with a smile. Whis beside him uttered it in a tone that had regret and sadness into it. What a bittersweet ending. In the end, just as they thought they could finally be together, you decided to strip that moment of happiness away from them, he commented. He turned his eyes to Vegeta's crazed look. You are so cruel, my lord. It was simply their fate, Whis, Vegeta snorted. A fate that changed due to the wish Atla had foolishly made. He should feel grateful that I have given him the chance to see and be with his mate for the last time. I showed him that kind of mercy. Whis gave Vegeta an odd side glance. I was curious about something. Vegeta's crazed expression faded back to his default emotionless look. The magenta glow of his eyes faded back to its normal black color. As he turned to look up at his tall, effeminate guide angel. What is it? He asked in a flat tone. What is your opinion about love? Vegeta turned away from Whis. You know I'm forbidden to have that kind of emotion ever since I became the God of Destruction. Just answer the question. You don't have to feel it or anything. It is nothing but a useless emotion for foolish mortals, a softness that bears their greatest weakness. I have no need for such a thing anymore. Whis knew that Vegeta was lying. He knew that the reason why he was doing his best to do his duties as the God of Destruction was because of his love for his people. He was simply denying the fact that he was still feeling traces of it in his closed-off heart, because he is bound to his duties. I asked that because I was curious about your opinion about Atla's wish and sacrifice to save Lemuria from Moe. You looked a little upset. I just didn't understand what made him decide so quickly, Vegeta said. That's what love can do. It can be more dangerous than you may think. To protect their loved ones, they can throw away anything, even their own lives on the entire world. Some mortals would kill and destroy the world for the sake of their loved ones. Atla is one of those examples, Whis explained. He's just a desperate fool, Vegeta said. It only shows just how much he loves Lemuria. I think she is lucky to be loved by a man willing to do anything just to save her. As Vegeta continued to watch Planet Alia's destruction, something flashed before his eyes. A vision of a woman with flowing turquoise-colored hair. Big cerulean eyes full of emotions were staring right back at him. Her figure was beautiful. She looked like an angel. Who is this woman? Suddenly, Vegeta heard his voice in his head as he was speaking to this woman. Love me to the point that you would want to destroy the universe for me? Be the first mortal to love me as I am. Make me, the god of destruction, love you to the point that I will destroy everything just for you. Do it if you do not wish to die. My lord, are you feeling well? Wish's voice shook Vegeta out of his trance, bringing him back to reality. Vegeta turned to his guide angel confused. Did you see or hear that, Whis? See and hear what? Vegeta didn't answer. Whis looked at him oddly. He took his scepter and gazed at his crystal. He saw no pending request for the god of destruction from any client. There's no request, my lord. What are you talking about? Whis confirmed. Vegeta sighed. He must be hallucinating right after what Whis just told him. Forget it, Whis. Let's just go home, Vegeta said in a tired tone, although he would never be physically tired being an immortal god himself. Do you want to stop by planet Earth and get some of your favorite Maguro Nigiri? Whis asked, hoping the idea would somehow lighten up his lord's mood. Earth? Again? With that stupid backwater planet in the solar system where one of the weakest race of mortals in the universe resides? Those damn humans? Vegeta seethed. Oh, you know very well that's the only planet where the intergalactic market gets their supplies of fresh ingredients for your favorite food. I'm pretty sure that small planet has a lot of sushi to offer you, my lord. And you know very well how I always wanted to destroy that stupid small planet. Then why didn't you? I know, and I'm sure that's because Earth has the most delicious food in the universe. You and Beerus were the same. I think the manga and video game collection that Beerus once treasured were from Earth as well. The human race maybe is one of the weakest races, but their cooking sure is great. Plus, the planet is a good source of different resources. If you destroy it, then there will be a source of sumptuous food and good water for you and the universe. I guess it's quite useful just for the food they can offer. Too bad I have placed a divine punishment on Earth 4 months ago. I'm sure you remember that well, Vegeta said, looking at his guide angel with a knowing look. Of course, Whis remembers that as clear as day. 4 months ago, Vegeta ate a fruit from Earth that Whis bought for him and turned out to displease him greatly. From its smell down to its taste. In his anger, Vegeta cursed all of the trees that bore that damn fruit to become deadly and poisonous. He declared that any mortal who would eat it should die slowly, and those who would come near to them will be infected. What he said was eventually done, as he is a god of death and destruction. It caused a global pandemic, which greatly affected the supplies and sales of the intergalactic market as well. This is the reason why there was a scarcity of Vegeta's favorite Maguro Nigiri in the market, which made Vegeta even more pissed and made him want to destroy that damn useless planet completely. Fine, let's go and visit this Earth and check if I could still show them mercy. Did you bring any money? Of course, my lord, but I know that even I have no money with me. You will simply threaten to destroy anything in order to get whatever you want. Shut up and let's just go. Yes, my lord. Vegeta and Whis went their way towards the Earth. The only thing Vegeta cared about was his food. So, while Whis was being busy doing his groceries, he was left alone in the barren wasteland because he didn't wish to join his attendant to do something he thinks is too godly and too superior to be doing. When he got bored because Whis was taking his sweet time going around, he decided to stroll around and check out how one of the weakest mortals in the universe lived their pathetic lives, not caring about the hazardous effect his mere presence would make. There was a small village nearby where the villagers gathered for an event. He heard that because of the global pandemic going on, Humans were suffering. That was good news to him. He likes it when mortals suffer due to his powers, but as he watched at these villagers, he seemed excited about the event. Vegeta felt that something isn't right. Somebody bumped into him. It made Vegeta feel irritated and want to destroy that damn human immediately. However, his breath was caught in surprise when he turned and saw a human woman, a young adult with long turquoise-colored hair tied into a high ponytail on the top left side of her head. Her big cerulean eyes stared back at him in wonder. She was beautiful with a slender frame, and she wore a pink tube top and shorts that revealed the smooth, fair white skin of her shoulders and legs. She carried a brown backpack on her back, her hands grasping the thick straps around both of her shoulders. His first impression about her was that she looked very fragile, just as the rest of her people, though he thought that by human standards she could be considered as very attractive as compared to other humans he had seen so far. Vegeta stared at her in confusion. This woman looked so familiar to him somehow. Had he met her somewhere before? Seeing at her gaping at him for so long and hearing the flustering, peevish impression she had on him, he cleared his throat before giving her a sarcastic smirk, though it only made her feel more attracted to him though. I know I'm good looking, but don't stare so much, woman. You could die, you know, he told her. The woman blinked back at him as if just waking up from her trance. What? She muttered, quite confused. Vegeta scowled and he rolled his eyes at her before leaving the dumbfounded human who couldn't believe his vanity and his attitude. Vegeta silently observed the event in the corner. It seems that the woman from earlier was one of the main guests. She and her family were making donations to help these poor people. It was a good deed of them, and Vegeta was quite impressed. After all, he knew something about who the woman's father was. But still, Vegeta knew that something was about to happen simply because he was there. He could feel it. A connection he had been waiting for months now. One filled with the desire for bloodshed. Unlike the thoughts of Atla that were focused solely on destruction, this one is filled with the desire to kill. He could sense that death is coming for those who are present right before him. They were all going to die. And Vegeta will simply watch what would happen. It wasn't his intention to kill them. It was simply the time of their untimely death, and he was there to make it happen. Somebody else would do it for him. The one who just sealed a contract with him months ago. After all, he isn't just responsible for the destruction of worlds. He is also capable of causing death to mortals. He heard his name in the thoughts of the contractee, a man who bore such hatred for one of the humans among the crowd. 4 months ago, Saiki Regan, the CEO of the growing Saiki Corporation, prayed and summoned him to make a wish for the death of a man he hated because he believed that Dr. Brief stole his prototype and ideas of what was now known on Earth as the popular Hoi Poi capsules. But Vegeta didn't care much about that. When Vegeta offered him the contract, Saiki was hesitant to oblige. It took him 4 months to think about his decision. It was the opposite of how quickly Atla made his decision. And so, Vegeta fulfilled this human's wish to kill the other human he hated with his own hands. Saiki's only wish was to have a more hardened resolve for him to kill that man without any hesitation or guilt. It was like permitting him to kill the famous inventor, and that's all. There was a sound of a gunshot. A human fell to his death, and then the crowd was quickly on hysteria. Another sound of a gunshot, and another human fell, and another, and another. It went on, and it didn't stop until every single human in there is down on the ground, bleeding in the pool of their blood. But when the woman who just bumped into him earlier had fallen, Vegeta felt something snap inside of him, and he phased in to appear in front of the man who was firing all those shots. Stop right there. You already had enough. Vegeta growled at him, his intimidating ebony eyes pierced like sharp knives at his contractee, causing the human to be frozen out of his sudden terror. at the sound of his voice and the unexpected pulsing sensation within the center of his chest as his soul, his core of existence, reacted to the presence of the destroyer deity. Vegeta Yonsei-sama, the man gasped in surprise. What are you doing in here? He asked in odd puzzlement, stuttering. I came to fulfill your wish since you already made a decision, the god of destruction responded as he observed his terrifying reflection within Psyche's fearful brown eyes. What? Psyche was even more confused. He didn't recall he sealed that contract at all. Your thoughts about the death of Dr. Briefs and calling out to me sealed the deal you made with me, Vegeta explained to him. Hey, I didn't call you out, Psyche defended. You did. I felt the connection. You called out to me in your thoughts. I wish that Vegeta Yonsei-sama would give me the strength to do what I must. I must kill those rotten hypocrites. I must kill that hypocrite Dr. Briefs now. Now! Those were your thoughts before you fired that weapon. Your wish is to simply kill Dr. Briefs, yet you killed the rest of his family and some of the people in here. Aren't you a little too abusive of the strength I gave you? Huh? You have incurred my wrath by abusing what I just gave you. Human, it is time for you to die, just as how you killed him. I will give you what you did to those other humans below. As if Psyche was caught in hypnosis, he turned the sniper rifle in his hand and inserted its muzzle inside his mouth, his quivering fingers barely touching the trigger. His fear-stricken brown eyes were as huge as saucers because he was aware that the action he just made wasn't his will at all. He stared right through Vegeta's glowing magenta eyes, which were peering back at him with such a frightening gaze of a cold and ruthless killer. He started to whimper in pure terror, wanting to beg for his mercy, but he couldn't open his trembling lips. Then he saw a crazed-looking and sinister smile stretch upon the destroyer's god's lips. Die! At Vegeta's command, Psyche's head exploded to pieces, as if the gun he fired at himself was a shotgun instead of a sniper. The blood, brains, and tissue that once made up his head flew upwards. Some of it splattered on Vegeta's face and his body, and he didn't even flinch at all. His smile seemed to grow as he gave off a villainous chuckle before he ran a tongue across his bloody lips to get a taste of what human blood like. At least his human blood smells and tastes better than those I've killed before, Vegeta muttered to himself before he chuckled once more. Vegeta turned his head towards the only two remaining survivors of the massacre that occurred in what cursed place. Both were unconscious and bleeding, but he knew that they will survive. He knew that isn't the time for him to take the lives and souls of these two human women, sisters, and so he decided to leave them both alone. He knew that those who heard of the gunshots not far away would come to their rescue and take them to a nearby medical hospital. As for the rest of the souls of those who were killed, he called out to them to rise. Bowls of bluish-white flames appeared just above the dead bodies, and he commanded them all to pass over to the other world. All except for the soul that once belonged to his contractee, Psyche Regan. Just as this contract mentioned, this soul, unlike the others, will never be allowed to pass over, go to heaven or hell, and be reincarnated. It shall be destroyed from its existence by his power. He took the damned soul into his hand and stared at it for a moment. No, this damn fool did not deserve to be destroyed from his existence after what he had done in here. Such punishment is light for such a rotten bastard. So instead of destroying its existence outright, he decided to throw the soul down into the deepest pit of hell, so he could suffer its torturous divine punishment for all eternity. This is the price this human soul must pay for abusing what the god of destruction gave him, for foolishly thinking that he had power greater than that of the most fearsome deity responsible for death and destruction, and for stepping in his territory. Vegeta made sure that the unexpected rescuers have come to aid the two survivors before he finally left the havoc he just caused. He knew he would take the souls as well soon enough. Their souls as well soon enough. Very soon, one of those women will summon him back to this planet to fulfill a long-awaited request he had been waiting for quite some time. A wish that would finally allow him to destroy Earth. Notes. There are a few terms you may encounter frequently in the story. Hakaishin, a god of destruction sometimes used to address Vegeta and other gods of destruction. Kaioshin, a god of destruction. Supreme Kai, sometimes used to address the gods of creation like Shin. Guide Angel, a god of destruction personal attendant, someone like Whis. Haikai, destruction technique. Energy of recreation. The black dust of nothingness, the energy of a destroyed individual, things turns into, which returns to the creative God to be used for the creation of something new. Ningen, mortals, core of existence. For mortals, it is their soul for planets and stars. It is their actual core. It lies within the center of a person's chest. All cores of existence are connected to the universe's creator and destroyer of gods. Ki, the energy behind the life force of everything that exists. Can also be referred to as latent energy, power, battle power, fighting power, or spiritual power. Can be unleashed in different forms such as an aura, or been manipulated to enhance an individual's strength, or create various energy-based attacks. It is made up of 3 compositions. Genki, vigor, yuki, lit courage, and shuki, lit right-mindedness, which directly affects an individual's energy. Ki also appears as the flame around a person's core of existence. Aura, the physical manifestation of Ki, radiating off or leaking out of a physical body. It is naturally invisible and is released by all living things, which can exert pressure to other people or objects. Trained individuals who concentrate their Ki inside their body release this in different forms, properties, and colors, and allows them to enhance physical abilities, such as power, speed, and durability, all with varying results depending on the quality and amount of Ki within a person, in addition to their proficiency in controlling it. Summoner, the one who did the ritual to summon the god of destruction, for example, Atla and Psyche in this chapter. Client, one who has offered the services of the god of destruction, for example, Atla and Psyche in this chapter. There are some clients who didn't make the contract due to unforeseen circumstances. Contractee, one who successfully entered into a contract with the god of destruction. Also, one of the god of destruction must fetch when it's time for them to be destroyed, as stated in the contract. Target, the one that god of destruction must destroy as the result of the contract made between the god of destruction and his client. For example, King Mo in this chapter. Crossfire victim, one who gets in the crossfire between the client, the target, and the god of destruction. For example, Lemuria in this chapter. Hakaishin in training, a god of destruction, mortal, protege, future successor. Maguru, bluefin tuna. Nigiri, a type of sushi. Honoric name suffixes. Chan, used to address in adoration or for small children. Or anyone younger, i.e. Vegeta Chan, is addressed by Yon Shi. Kun, used to address younger males, i.e. Vegeta Kun, as addressed by Yungayu. Sama, used to address someone in a higher position or superior. Can be translated as Lord or Master, i.e. Vegeta Sama, Lord Vegeta, as addressed by Whis. Or Frieza Sama, Lord Frieza, Master Frieza, is addressed by Frieza Force members. San, commonly used as formality, similar to Mr., Miss, Mrs., i.e. Vegeta-san, Mr. Vegeta, or Bulma-san, Miss Bulma, as addressed by Whis. Nichen, used to address an older sister as how Bulma would refer to Taitsu, tights. Now then, so chapter 3, Nightmares, a brief reprieve. Alright, we'll go through this chapter and then we shall call it a day for today. Be back momentarily. And the prince is back. So, Chapter 3 Nightmares. Hey, have you heard of the urban legend about the ritual where you can summon the god of destruction during the devil's hour? Oh? Is there such an urban legend? Yeah, I read it on the internet. It was one of those chilly pastors going around. Sounds interesting. So what's this legend about? It goes like this. They say that you can summon the god of destruction through a prayer, and once he hears you, you can make a wish to destroy someone you hate the most. He will come and destroy that someone from their existence. Whoa, that's creepy. You can only do this through a ritual during the devil's hour. The instructions are quite simple. Just sacrifice a drop of your blood and think of the destruction of the one you hate as you pray. Then, if the god of destruction accepts your prayers, he will come and appear before you for confirmation. That's all. Maybe I should try and do this ritual and tell the god of destruction to destroy my husband and mistress from my existence. My husband and his mistress from existence. Yeah, that was a female. Well, okay, go ahead at your own risk, but you must know that the legend says that the god of destruction will ask for a price for his services. Huh? I thought it was for free. Of course not. Who do you think you're requesting to? He's a freaking god of destruction, for crying out loud. It's only obvious that he will ask us mortals for a price. Then what is it? Money? Food? Praises? I don't know. Wasn't specified in detail, but they say it's your soul. It's like selling your soul to the devil. Well, isn't that too much? Look at you. Come on, don't take it seriously. Just an urban legend after all. Although there's a rumor that the suspect in the massacre that occurred in the Pepper Village 3 years ago had entered a contract with the god of destruction because of the notes the suspect left on his room moments prior to the crime. You mean that massacre where the president of the once world famous Capsule Corporation was murdered along with an entire village? Yes, that's the one I'm talking about. I'm amazed you still remember. Of course, it was world-breaking news back then. Those you didn't know about must be living under a rock or too young to remember it. So anyway, there's this video going around the dark web showing how frightened Psyche, the suspect, was when he put the muzzle of his sniper rifle inside his mouth. He looked like he didn't want to do it. It's like someone else is controlling his actions. Plus, his head exploded as if the gun he was holding was a shotgun instead of a sniper rifle. Really? Where can I find that video? I'll send you the link. Check it out yourself at your own risk. You must know that it's terrifying to watch. Okay. Whoa, can't believe this. So what do you think? Do you think that the god of destruction truly exists? Is the urban legend true after all? I don't know. There's only one way to confirm it. What time is it? It's 5 minutes to 3. So, should we try summoning him? I told you I wanted to get my husband and his stupid mistress out of my hair. You must be joking. And you should have told me that story in the first place. Plus, you're also curious if it does exist, aren't you? Well, yeah, but... What? Are you scared? And here I thought you loved exploring scary things. I do, but I do not wish to sell my soul for trivial things such as that. You're just a coward. Don't worry. We'll not make a contract with him, as if he indeed appears right before our eyes. Does that make you feel better? Fine, whatever. Let's do this once, okay? Great! Could still be male these days. Anything's possible. Alright, what the hell? Chapter 2, Nightmares. When you pray and a deity hears your prayers, anything you wish for shall be granted. Humans who believe that a deity exists usually say this, but for Bulma Briefs it was simply nothing but a foolish belief. She and her family used to be believers of the existence of Kami-sama, despite their scientific genius. Her mother used to tell her that they must thank Kami-sama, for they were blessed with high intelligence and wealth, and they must use their God-given gifts to reach out and help those in need. While Bulma was raised to become generous and humble, there are times when she would selfishly think that not everybody's problems should be their problem. People are abusive by nature. You share with them once and they will expect that you will share with them again without doing anything to drive themselves away from their miserable situations. Those kinds of people are what she hated the most. Lazy bastards who always depend on other people, expecting others to give them whatever they need without them doing anything at all. So whenever they would go back to give charity to those people, for how many times had it been again? Bulma lost count. It felt as if she and her family were already feeding these people the entirety of their lives. It became worse when this global pandemic began. She felt like everybody depended on them with being given all of their needs. Bulma's family was the richest in the world. She didn't have a problem with sharing and giving to the poor. Her problem with them was the fact that they get too dependent on her family's charity works. They almost feel like these people were already abusing their kindness. One day, while on their way to a small village downtown, where many indigent people were expecting to receive their donations, she went to her parents to tell them what's on her mind. This was the 6th time they were going to that village these past 3 months, and they will give it to the same people again. Her mother said that Kami would take care of it and that she must always remember that whatever you give to others, the deity will surely give it back to you severalfold. So if they share their blessings with the unfortunate, Kami will bless their lives even more. If only her mother knew what would happen that day, she would have greatly changed her mind. As Bulma walked towards the program, she bumped into someone's shoulder and felt a sudden odd jolt within the center of her chest. Confused by that strange sensation, she decided to ignore it and turned to apologize to the person. But her words were caught breathlessly when she found the gorgeous look of the man right before her eyes. She stared in awe, her jaw dropped in astonishment as she took in his appearance. The first she noticed were his beady black eyes, darker than midnight, colder than ice, and with a fearsome gaze sharper than any blade on earth. They were small, narrowed, and slanted, adorned by long, thick eyelashes. His eyebrows were thick and arching downwards, making his already fierce-looking eyes even more intimidating. He had a wide forehead with a receding hairline and a pronounced widow's peak. Up his head flared a thick jet black flame, shaped spiky hair that she imagined could burn her. His nose was sharp and high-bridged. Her eyes wandered to his thick lips, her girlish mind wondering how would it feel like to be kissed by them. Then her eyes fell to his perfectly angular jawline. She noticed him wearing a thick gold choker around his muscular neck. She had never seen a man as good looking as he is. Heck, he's even better looking than her boyfriend. She wondered if this man is human at all, because they look godly to her, especially with that kind of physique. Gosh, his muscles underneath that gleaming smooth olive skin looked like they were perfectly sculpted by a Greek artist who make those hot statues of mythological gods. Her eyes paused between his bared, chiseled pectorals under that striped black and blue, which with an orange diamond shape on the center, and his hard, well-defined abdominal muscles above the navy blue sash belt around his slim waist that fits his sky blue baggy pants. Attached to the front of his sash was a long black colored drape with golden rims and designed with 2 white and 1 orange diamond shape lining up vertically on its center. Her eyes then roamed the curves of his huge muscular arms, from his huge fists to the broad golden cuff bracelets that wrapped the lower half of his forearms. Upwards the thick, ancient-looking golden ring bracelets around his biceps and his bulging deltoid muscles. Suddenly feeling thirsty, she licked her drying lips and swallowed nervously. feeling her face flush hot and red. She could also hear her heart pounding in her chest so erratically. The man cleared his throat and her eyes were pulled back to his face. The godlike being let out a devilish smirk at her, and she noticed his dimples as his lips crooked upwards, which instantly made her heart flutter even more. Then he spoke to her with a voice that sounded like the wind during a snowstorm, brimming with arrogance and overwhelming self-confidence. I know I'm good looking, but don't stare too much, woman. You could die, you know. Bulma blinked her wide eyes in disbelief, and her blue eyebrows creased in her confusion, looking as if she just woke up from a spell. What? The smirk on his lips faded into a deep scowl, and he walked away with a roll of his eyes. Bulma sneered at his broad back before eyeing him from head to toe with a disgusted look. She saw that he was wearing a pair of brown leather boots with golden rings around the ankles. And is that a monkey's tail attached on his lower back? Well, he is indeed good looking, but he has an attitude. What a turn off. Plus, who puts on a stupid tail? What is he? A child or a cosplayer for this event? She thought, shaking her head at his vanity before she turned around to continue her way back to where the event is. The charity works went smooth at first. People had prepared a small show to welcome their arrival. The village leader thanked them for coming. It was the usual activity. Bulma didn't see the man from earlier participating with them at all. She tried to search for him amongst the crowd, and she found him simply watching in the corner in silence. And while they were reaching out their gifts to the village residents, they heard a gunshot out of nowhere, and then Bulma saw how her father fell backward. For her, that sight happened in slow motion. Her mind shut off, but her body felt like it was being pulled forward, her arms reaching out to her father. Suddenly, the venue was filled with panic and screaming as everybody ran for their lives, completely forgetting what they were initially there for. Bulma caught her father in her arms and she fell backward to her behind. Her older sister and her mother ran towards them. There was another sound of a gunshot. Then Bulma saw her mother fall sideways towards her older sister's right shoulder. And then another gunshot. Her older sister fell. As more bodies fall, one after another, Bulma turned her blurry eyes to search for whoever was firing at them, but the world felt like it was spinning. While doing so, she saw the man from earlier standing so calmly amid the chaotic people. He was looking up towards the trees a few feet away. She followed his sights and found the dark figure of a man several feet away. He was dressed in black clothing and a black, full-face ski mask over his face. By how he was crouching down and holding what it seemed was a sniper, Bulma already knew he was a suspect. But before she could move or speak, there was another gunshot, and then everything went black for her. Bulma cried out in her bed, screaming and shaking. Someone's arms held her, and then the soothing voice of her beloved boyfriend called out to her, "Bulma! Bulma! Wake up!" Hearing Yamcha's voice had somehow helped Bulma pull herself back to reality, and she slowly calmed down. She leaned over Yamcha's muscular arms as he ran his hands up and down her back, and she wept on his shoulder. "Another nightmare, huh?" Yamcha sighed. Bulma muttered, sniffing. "It's okay now. It's all over," he assured her. She nodded. "Sorry about that. I must have woken you up." Every night since she recovered in the hospital from that horrible incident 3 years ago, Bulma would occasionally get that kind of nightmare that reminds her of what happened that terrible day. She will never forget that day that caused her to lose everything she held dear. Why her of all people? Being raised in a religious family, she was told that Kami-sama favored those who are faithful and loyal to him. But why did he allow this to happen? She could not understand. If Kami-sama truly existed, then why did he allow this to happen to her? Did he just simply watch in his heavenly throne in his kingdom as her faithful parents die? Why did he not take her and her sister away too? Why did he leave them to suffer in this cruel world? Does he find any joy in seeing them live like this? Is Kami-sama that cruel to those who served him faithfully? All these questions made her stop believing in the existence of a deity. Perhaps deities are just godly creatures, humans created in their desperate imaginations. Maybe their holy scripture is just a collection of fairy tales written to make humans believe the words written there were real, but in reality only limits their actions and makes them judgmental towards others, with the concept of what is good and evil, and creating heaven and hell as rewards or punishment for doing all these things. Maybe heaven and hell don't exist. Hell could be this life on earth, while heaven is nothing but a make-believe fantasy world too perfect to be true. Bulma, she heard her boyfriend call her name. Yes? Your birthday's coming this weekend. Do you want to spend your birthday with me? I'd like to treat you on a date. Yamcha, I'm still worried about that, you know. A recorded video of what happened during the massacre amidst the charity event the family organized on Pepper Village 3 years ago was found and became viral on the internet. The video of Saiki taking his own life after he murdered all of the attendees and guests in an enraged mass shooting. Many people speculated that how he looked utterly frightened while doing so only meant that he didn't wish to kill himself. There were many theories about it. Some say that he was snapped and gone mad or was possessed by the devil, or that he was suffering from depression after his conglomerate of business fell low after Capsule Corporation's massive success. Others speculated that his true target in the massacre was her father, Dr. Briefs, and his entire family, because the Reagan Enterprises claimed that Dr. Briefs stole his patents for the immensely successful invention and product of Capsule Corporation, the Hoi Poi capsules, which Bulma knew wasn't true at all. These continued to become viral news across the globe, and people started to boycott Capsule Corporation and their products. Just almost a year later, after horrendous massacre, Bulma, the heiress of the once great tech conglomerate, was forced to declare bankruptcy due to the lack of sales and support from the public, and she eventually forced to give up all of their properties, leaving her and her older sister, who's still in a coma, the only remaining survivor of the Briefs family and the massacre of the Pepper Village, with nothing to fend off for themselves. For Bulma, it was terrible. She just lost both of her parents, and her older sister lay comatose in the hospital. All the money Bulma gained from their sold properties were used for her sister's hospitalization and medications, and with very scarce of budget left to feed herself or pay for her tiny apartment she transferred to. She knew she had to do something and get a job as soon as possible. She tried applying at several companies where she could use her genius, but nobody wished to hire her despite her bright credentials due to the scandal that happened. Plus, due to the ongoing pandemic, many businesses had also shut down or have removed some employees due to lack of revenue. She had temporarily tried to sell home-cooked meals, but even that wasn't doing her any good at all. Bulma has no experience with cooking, so she tried to learn by watching videos online. Yamcha would occasionally lend her a hand when he had time. Still, it wasn't sufficient enough to give her income to provide for her basic needs and paying off her bills. Good thing that Yamcha was there to provide. In some cases, she doesn't have enough or lend her some money whenever she needed emergency funds. Though, because of her pride, Bulma preferred not to depend on him that much. She needed to earn money to provide for herself and her sister, never wanting to hear Yamcha rubbing it all on her face someday. Luckily, after several grueling months of job hunting, she finally found a newly sushi restaurant in downtown West City, where she was finally hired as a waitress. The job was quite dishonorable for someone with her set of skills, intelligence, and standards, but she had no other choice. Beggars can't be choosers after all. Even though there were a few people who would eat in that sushi restaurant, and despite hearing that some closed-minded people avoided dining there due to her presence, the owner didn't mind her being with them at all. Her boss, Gyumayo, believed that she and her co-workers, Gyumayo's gorgeous daughter Chi-Chi, and a petite young man called Krillin, would one day help him and his business grow. Perhaps these people, along with Launch, the beautiful landlady to the apartment where Bulma currently lives, were the only people who were compassionate enough to take her in. She's just an ordinary person. The four of them, along with her boyfriend Yamcha, were the only people who showed kindness to her, despite everything that happened to her. She was very grateful to have them in her life, and for their trust and support. She swore to herself that she would return the favor the moment she gets over this difficult situation in her life, no matter what. You are worried about what? Yamcha asked. That people would stare at you because of me, Bulma said. Yamcha snorted. Then let them stare. They're just jealous I have a perfect girlfriend. I'm not kidding. Who cares about what other people say? Why would their opinion matter to us? No, Bulma said, turning around to face her boyfriend. She stared at his eyes as she told him, but I prefer celebrating my birthday here at the apartment with you, just the two of us together. Yamcha sighed and raised a hand to gently touch her face with his fingers, pulling a strand of her hair off her angelic face. Alright, if that's what you want, well, let's do that. Bulma smiled sweetly at him as she touched his hand on her face. Thank you for understanding, Yamcha. Yamcha murmured, embracing her and planting a kiss on her forehead. Now let's go back to sleep. You have work tomorrow and I have a training to attend to. Her boyfriend was a popular baseball player of the international famous team called the Titans. They will have an important game next month that would hopefully qualify them for the Olympics. So he was busy training and preparing himself for an important milestone of his sports career. Okay, Bulma murmured as she snuggled against Yamcha's chiseled chest. As she found comfort and warmth underneath the muscular arms protectively wrapped around her, Bulma suddenly recalled the man she saw that day, the alluring, egotistical, godlike being who she thought looked better and hotter than her already charming boyfriend. She wondered who that mysterious person was, and why did she dream about him just now? Her eyebrows furrowed in confusion. Come to think of it, that man wasn't included in the list of victims or survivors. She knew of this because she once visited the memorial of the victims, where portraits of those who died were displayed. She never saw his picture there. She recalled that it was the first time she had seen him in that village. She could just wave him off as a visitor of one of the residents or someone just passing by, but he was there when the shooting massacre happened. She knew because she saw him watching everything unfold in a corner with a surprisingly impassive look on his face, while everybody else panicked and ran off for their lives around him. She didn't have any idea where he went or what happened to him after she fell unconscious. Maybe he ran off somewhere to save his life after he finally snapped out of his frozen state and realized he was going to die in there if he doesn't make a move to save himself. If he wasn't one of those who passed away that dreadful day, and the only survivors were her and her older sister, then where was he? There's another survivor, Bulma murmured. You were saying something? Yamcha mumbled, opening his eyes. She raised her head to look into his eyes. Aside from me and Taitsu Nichin, there's another survivor. Really? Who? When we arrived in the Pepper village that day, I bumped into a man. He doesn't look like he was a local there because I haven't seen him around when we first came there a few times. Maybe he's a visitor or something, Yamcha assumed. Bulma frowned. I don't think so. She disagreed before explaining even further. Because he stayed to watch the event on the sidelines, when the shooting happened, he was the only one standing calmly amidst the chaos of screaming and panicking people. Oh, are you trying to say that this mystery guy could be an accomplice to Psyche? But Bulma, everyone knows that the only suspect behind that mass shooting was Psyche Riggin. The video of him shooting himself, which went viral across the internet, and handwritten notes of apology found on his room were enough evidence that he planned it all along and alone before taking his own life. Perhaps that man you were talking about was just in too much of a shock. He couldn't move or express his feelings because the terror that struck him made him already catatonic. You know, fear does that to some people, especially when they know that it could be the last moments of their lives. She realized he could be right, and she nodded reluctantly. That could be, she agreed. Bulma recalled the notes that came along his last will and testament that Psyche left on his room before he vacated his home to prepare himself for the massacre he planned to do that dreadful day. Scribbled across the pages were the words, "To my family, I am very sorry. I have to do this. That man and his loved ones have to die. I will make him and his family pay for the humiliation they put me through. May the god of destruction give me the strength to proceed through this ordeal." Yes, I summoned him. I was able to meet him in person. He said that he heard my desires and would help me with my plans. But in exchange for my soul, I'm scared. I had no idea what kind of monster I called upon. But I have to do this. Please don't be like me. Don't you ever do that ritual no matter what. She wondered what that could mean. When she learned of this, she initially thought that the man was crazy. She was aware that Psyche Regan had always hated her father for simply doing better than him. But for him to do such heinous crime just to rid of them was just unbelievable and unforgivable. It was because of this note that some gullible people think that a god of destruction was also involved with the massacre, especially when, if you watch that viral video, have seen how when Psyche Regan was utterly terrified and looking like he was begging for mercy as he pointed the sniper rifle inside his mouth, it was as if he had no control over his own actions. Could it be that the enigmatic being she met that day was the god of destruction Psyche was talking about? She began to question the existence of deities once more. Now, enough thinking about that and go back to sleep, okay? Yamcha told her when he saw her busy with her own thoughts again, distracting her from pondering about the mysterious flaming-haired man. Bulma nodded as she snuggled back to Yamcha's chest, wondering what happened to that man and where he is now. Irashaimase. Bulma greeted the customer that just walked into their humble sushi stand. It means, "Welcome, please come in," but her words were cut off when she recognized that customer. He was especially tall, thin, and had odd pale blue colored skin. His soft-looking white hair swirled upwards like that of a sundae. He had kind-looking violet eyes, and his face was rather effeminate. He held a long scepter with a black crystal floating above it on his right hand. There's a round blue ring around his neck that looked like a floating necklace. He donned a long maroon-colored robe, a black cuirass with the same white and orange diamond shapes, and a blue sash around his thin waist. He also wears black high-heeled shoes, with long toes resembling winkle pickers with white spats. This odd person was their regular customer, and because he was a regular, he was served with utmost excitement. Bulma led the tall, effeminate man to an empty seat, where he gracefully sat down to wait. She smiled at him. "Let me guess, 50 jumbo boxes of Maguro nigiri and 2 regular boxes of mixed sushi." The man laughed. Oh, you guessed it. Coming right up, she winked cheerfully as she rushed to the kitchen to prepare the food he ordered. Sometime later, as Bulma put the boxes of maguro nigiri he ordered for takeout down the table where the strange customer ate his food with a joyful look as if he had never eaten sushi before, she suddenly asked him, "You know, I'm kind of curious. I hope you don't mind me asking, but why are you always looking like that? Do you do cosplays?" Cosplay? You know, a get up of anime or gaming fans where they dress up as their favorite character. Which character are you? You look amazing in your costume. Oh, the customer smiled. I'm not cosplaying anyone. I just look naturally like this. Really? And here I thought you were wearing makeup. So why is your skin a pale blue color then? Are you sick or something? Bulma suddenly asked in concern. The customer laughed. The sound was like bells to her ears. Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, okay. Sorry if I asked too much, Bulma muttered. She watched in silence as the strange guy continued with his meal. So, you love eating mixed sushi, huh? Yes, it is my favorite food on your menu here. Thank you for the compliment. So I suppose the maguro nigiri here isn't yours since you ordered them for takeout? Yes, they're for my master. Maguro nigiri is his favorite food. Master? Really? All these are for him only? Yes, in fact, he can finish all of these in one sitting, and these are just appetizers for him. Bulma's jaw dropped at that. Unbelievable! Is there a person who could eat that much? She could imagine how obese this customer's master could be. Okay, she uttered awkwardly shrugging. Then her voice turned curious again. So, are you a butler or something? Close enough. Whoa, now that explains why you are so well mannered, Bulma said with a look of awe. I guess your master's lucky to be taken care of by someone as gentle as you. I guess so. Bulma sat down in front of the man, getting more interested in knowing more about him. What's he like? Your master, I mean, she asked curiously. He's a little bit troublesome to take care of, prideful, stubborn, and could be frightening at times to other people besides me. He must be a scary person, but I think he likes you and that much that's why he isn't that frightening to you. I wonder about that. The customer finished his food and he took his takeouts in his hand, easily carrying all 50 boxes like they were nothing. Bulma couldn't get used to it up until now, and he sometimes wondered if this man was human at all. Well, he doesn't look human to her. Could he be an alien? He looked like an alien considering that floating ring around his neck. Does that also explain why his master could eat that much in one sitting? Is his master an alien too? Bulma was about to open her mouth to ask him about her thoughts, but the customer was already at the exit. He stopped by the door, turned around to face her, and told her with a gentle smile, "Don't worry, Miss Bulma. You will find out when you meet him again." Huh? How did he know her name? What does he mean by those words? There were several unanswered questions on Bulma's head right now, and it kept on popping up on her mind the more she became curious about that odd encounter with the strange customer. Notes, chapter notes. The first part of this chapter is a conversation between two women. The events prior and following this scene will be explained in the future chapters. Kami-sama, the guardian deity of Earth, God. Uechi, a personal ornament, a type of broad collar or necklace familiar to many because of its presence in images of the ancient Egyptian elite. Deities, women, and men were depicted wearing this jewelry. One example can be seen on the famous gold mask of Tutankhamun. Witching hour or the devil's hour is a time of the night that is associated with supernatural events. When witches, demons, and ghosts are thought to appear, and be at their most powerful, it's commonly believed to be specifically at 3 in the morning, or any time between 2 to 4 in the morning. This is only applicable to the urban legend about the ritual to summon the god of destruction on Earth. On other planets, it is called the hour of total darkness. Chili pasta is this fixed equivalent to creepy pasta in real life. Olympics is the fixed equivalent to Olympics in real life. Alright, let's just get a preview of the next chapter and we will call it. Alright, chapter 4, the one who wished for the world to be destroyed. You think that God of destruction exists? Oh, God of destruction, dearly responsible for the death and destruction of mortals. Oh, I don't know, I'm not sure about that. Why did you ask me such a question? Nothing, I'm just curious since it's becoming a trend these days on the internet. They say you can summon the God of destruction through some kind of ritual. Oh, I think I remember now. Satan was talking about it this morning. She said she and Saname tried the ritual during the devil's hour earlier. They're disappointed that nobody showed up. Ah, really? Are they crazy? I guess they were curious that the urban legend was true. Satan's husband cheated on her, so I guess she wanted to get rid of him and his mistress. Come on, an urban legend is just an urban legend. Satan must be desperate, she must have lost her mind. I guess so, but isn't there a creepy rumor that the suspect of the mass shooting that happened in the Pepper Village 3 years ago made a deal with the... Psst, quiet, you, she's here. Ah, come on, let's go home, I still have dinner to cook. Next time, chapter 3, the one who wished for the world to be destroyed. Well, like if it please you, subscribe if you dare desire for more, and I hope you thoroughly enjoyed the reading thus far, little sis of mine, and all that. But yeah, until next time, this has been your real life prince, and I am, of course, out of here. Sayonara!